Okay, everybody, so welcome to yet another Nova Scribes. I'm so excited to introduce Marjeta Novak. Marjeta is a facilitator and a systems change consultant. She designs and leads participatory dialogues that bring together unlikely allies to think, learn, and act wisely together. She's a certified trainer in nonviolent communication, and she enjoys the energy behind people's passions, especially when passions collide. That's where her NVC-based framework helps transform tension into understanding and creative movement. Originally from Slovenia, Marjeta now lives in the US and brings over 2 decades of international facilitation experience across 4 continents. And with that, Marjeta, love to have you here. Over to you.
Thanks, Brian. And today, the other Brian Stauber, also offered to lightly co-host. We are sharing this passion for NVC. So thanks for both of your generosities, Brian's. And yeah, even though I am a certified trainer, I do now mainly use nonviolent communication when I help bridge divides in various change processes, group strategic dialogues. So that's why today's session, we also have two parts. There will be an introductory part to nonviolent communication, and then how to apply this in facilitation settings. So, with this, what's my story here? It was about 10 years ago, 20 years actually now. Oh gosh, I'm getting older. That I met Marshall Rosenberg at an 10-day international intense training. And I got really intrigued because this training totally blew my mind. And I realized that I had so many shoots in my life that I could just let go and start living much more freely and with much more joy and vitality. And we often like to say that MVC is an effective interpersonal operating system for increasing joy and vitality in life. And it's only disguised as a communication protocol. But before I go further, I'd love to hear just one association that you might have with nonviolent communication at this point, regardless whether you know nothing about it, a little bit or a lot, and you're welcome to use the chat function, or you can also just say, unmute yourself and say something. Both is fine. And I'll also ask the other Brian if you can help and maybe read what people share here in chat, and I'll prepare something else
Yeah,
in the meantime.
absolutely. I'll just read them as they come in. So it's been recommended by a therapist, totally new to it, no background whatsoever, coming from peace negotiations, and calm and patience.
Hmm, interesting. Thank you. So now let's start with your experience. And I invite you, just personally, individually, to think of a difficult interaction that ultimately came to a quite a fulfilling close. Let me help you hear and see that. So let's say for everyone involved, as far as you can tell, so something very concrete that happened either very recently or a long time ago, a small thing on a larger one, doesn't matter, but interaction that started in a challenging way and then it transformed into something that was, according to your perception, beneficial to all the sides. And when you have it, find a quality or several qualities that enabled this shift for the better. And if you have the chance, you're invited to jot down. And after that, we'll put you into small breakout rooms. So if anyone cannot join for any reason, just let Brian Torello know, and or just come back into the main room and it'll be fine. But yeah, first just jot down individually some qualities that come from your real experience, not for your mind, what's the right condition or circumstance, but from a concrete experience. And Brian will create groups for something like 5 to 6 minutes, people 2 or 3. And the invitation is to share with each other just what are the qualities that came up for you and see if you can together create a list of a few, perhaps 3, 5 qualities. There is no need to agree on them. They can be very different. They can be opposing qualities. All is good at this point.
Okay. You will have about 6 minutes. See you soon. Make sure you hear from everybody.
Mhm. Welcome back. So now I'd love to hear a few qualities. And when you share a quality, I might ask a sub question. And that's because I have an agenda. Not that you said something wrong. There's, beyond the right and wrong is where we meet today. But it will help me guide the next learning part. So, please just start somewhere, share one quality that you sense was very important. Anyone, just unmute yourself and bring it into the shared space.
I'll go. Humility.
Humility. If humility was present in that interaction, what would that give to you? Whether you were humble or the other person, doesn't matter.
It gives that respect, that recognition, um, that
Good.
sense of being heard.
Yeah. Recognition, being heard. Thank you. Next one.
Kathy?
We had curiosity.
Curiosity. Yeah, yeah.
So being open to someone
Mhm.
else's experience.
Yeah. Next one, next group, maybe.
In our group, someone said, dropping your defensiveness. In other words, don't look at everything from the point of it's about me. Try to drop that ego and really understand and listen to what they're saying.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there were several things in this. Listen to what they're saying. If you listen, then it's about being heard. Some people get heard, the others understand better, I guess, understanding. But you also said dropping, yeah, the defenses. What does this give you if you drop the defenses, or if others drop the defenses? Either way.
I was the one who said that, and I think it gives the ability, it creates the space to listen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, spaciousness. And it can be either the person who came up with this or anyone else, because most of us can relate with what you share. And we can just all try and see, okay, what would this give me if people drop the defenses? Yeah, it's spaciousness, probably more openness, maybe even a more relaxedness in a way, easier to yeah, to be heard and then co-create together. Thank you.
Mary Jo, did you have one?
Being kind of along those same lines as maybe being non-judgmental, along
If
with,
you,
go ahead.
if people are not judgmental, what does this give to you?
That openness, that curiosity, that safety, that I could say something.
Yeah, safety, important. Yeah, safety, great. Anything else from other groups? Or any group we haven't heard yet?
Amy?
One thing that came up in our group was being vulnerable and like letting the other person know how you really feel.
If you're vulnerable or if the other person is vulnerable, what does this give to you? What bring to you?
I think it brings connection.
Wow. Connection, absolutely. Connection. It also can be authenticity, full self-expression, probably. Yeah.
But also introduces trust.
Trust. Did I hear trust?
Yeah, being vulnerable is providing trust.
Yeah, wonderful. Maybe one or two more. Yeah, Casey?
I think Peter helped pull this out of me. Understanding what your needs are and have a clear definition of what you need.
Clarity, let's say. Clarity, what you need, knowing yourself better. Connection, it's in a way self-connection, so that you know what we have connection and self-connection. Okay. One last one, and then we'll continue.
I think something that came up in ours was not seeking to win, but seeking to connect.
Seeking to connect. So then what do you have if people seek to connect?
Like a shared outcome, like a shared future together.
Some shared, so some shared, okay, future potentially. Sometimes if people seek to connect, you might even have some, hope that things can move forward in a good way, and so on and so forth. So if we have an interaction where we have respect, recognition, people hear each other, there's curiosity, openness, understanding, spaciousness, safety, connection, self-connection, authenticity, trust, clarity, then very often we are motivated to continue communicating, creating a future together. And if we have an interaction where none of this is present, where there is no trust, no clarity, no curiosity and openness, and we've all been in a situation where this was true, then our motivation to engage is immediately much, much smaller. And in nonviolent communication, we call these qualities that are here just basic human needs that we all share. So needs are these personal motivators that actually guide our perceiving, thinking, and acting. And we like to say that almost whatever we do to meet our needs, whether we are very intentional or not at all. And sometimes, of course, this can work well for us and for the others, and sometimes not that well. And if I look at this list, you can see that I a little bit transform sometimes things that you said. So somebody said non-judgmental, and I said, oh, what would this give you? And then safety came out, or it could be, freedom or creativity. There are a lot of needs that could be added to this very partial list that just came up from a few stories. What is common to all these needs is the way they are here presented, that they are positively articulated, So instead of saying I'm lazy, we say, okay, there's a need for rest, for relaxation. So we always look for something that is affirmative in its character. Universal, meaning that to one extent or the other, we as human beings all share these needs. Everyone has at some point a need for safety or for trust. Of course, not all the needs the same way all the time with all the people. And still, we can connect to just the beauty, the value of these qualities in our life. And the third and the last parameter here is that they are abstract enough that they allow for a variety of strategies of how to meet these needs. And this is very, very important once we start collaborating. So I will share a model here. We often use just the help and the metaphor of an iceberg to show one of many ways how to show human communication. And what this particular metaphor reminds us is that whatever is the small thing that is above the water is something that can be seen or heard, perceived with the senses. We very much like to say in nonviolent communication something that a camera can capture. So that's very often words, gestures, actions. And then underneath that, we have feelings, emotions that can be either pleasant or uncomfortable or less comfortable. And this very much depends on the deepest layer, which is the needs. To what extent are our needs in a certain situation fulfilled or not? If I am in a meeting where I'm being heard, there's curiosity, spaciousness, safety, we could maybe add fun, creativity, inspiration, then I will feel, joyful, inspired, etc., etc. And the actions that I will be choosing will most likely reflect that. But if these are not present, then there will be different kind of feelings. I might be frustrated, angry, sad, unhappy, etc., etc. The point being that the feelings are very important. They are really like messengers that tell us to what extent right now are my needs being met or not. And also an invitation to stop and check with myself. There's something not okay. I'm not right now feeling at peace. Can I check with myself? What is it that I am needing in this situation? So, let's see, to go on here. What also transpires here is that since we have not been, most of us have not been socialized into being attuned to our feelings and needs, we need a vocabulary. So at the end, you will get this presentation, and this is just one of many what we call needs lists that can just help us articulate what is it that I'm really longing, needing. And you see there are many more than what we had on this very partial, very short list. And again, they're all positively articulated. They are non-controversial, universal, we would say, and they have an open outcome. I also like to say there are many ways how to create connection or safety and so on and so forth. So such a kind of a menu is sometimes very helpful to come to inner clarity. What is it that we need in a certain situation? And just like needs, we also have feelings where there has been research done that though there's a very limited vocabulary that we have about around our feelings. And there are feelings where needs are fulfilled and feelings where needs are not fulfilled. In also the line below is the one where there are feelings mixed with, thoughts and interpretations, like, yeah, I could feel betrayed, and this is more telling what I think. I'm thinking that somebody betrayed me, whereas a more pure feeling could be, yeah, I feel sad, maybe lonely, etc., etc. There are some discernments that are also very valuable as our connection with NVC grows and we build our skills and capacities.
A quick note on feelings. I think it's very much a Brene Brown thing that the more you're able to name your feelings, the more you're able to actually fully feel them. And this is like many things, both like a practice and like a muscle that you have to build up through repetition. In the chat, I put the app How We Feel, which is an amazing app that not only gives you a grid of feelings on a scale from high energy, low energy to bad and good. Um, you can set reminders to, go and log what you're feeling in the moment. And the more you do that, the more you can be aware of where you're at.
Thank you, Brian. And we have another discernment that we have in NVC, and it's very practical and very useful. We have all these needs, and then we have strategies. How do we meet these needs? Which actions do we take? So, for example, if I give strategies are then very specific actions we choose to meet these needs. So, for example, if we have a need for, let me say, trust, we could say that, okay, a way to meet the need for trust is for other people to show on time, do what they promise to do, or maybe engage in a dialogue on a tough topic with openness, or maybe even just call somebody and say, okay, how are you really? There are many, many ways to build trust with actions. So in order to distinguish the needs, the abstract qualities, and concrete strategies, a question to you here. What are some very perhaps different strategies to meet the need for love? And you can either just unmute yourself and share here or write in the chat. I'll do my best now and follow the chat a little bit. What are some ways that we can meet our need for love? There must be at least 100 or 1,000 if we get creative. Tinder, sure. To give love, what would that mean to give love? What would that look like? When we talk about strategies, that's always, okay, what could a camera capture and see? What would a camera capture and see that we would interpret as I'm giving love? Or maybe that's an English thing, and it means like give love, give, yeah. I see also being in the same room with my wife. Yes, doing things for the other. Okay, that's, thanks, Peter, for clarifying. Or it could be, get a dog, reading to my child, doing fun things together, ask for a shoulder rub. Yes, yes, conversations, and doing things without being asked. Yeah, etc., etc. The important point here is that once we identify a need that is important, perhaps to me personally, or in an interaction, or in a team, in a group, we have the dishes, religious ceremonies. Yes, thank you. Eating dinner together. From here, a whole sphere of possibility opens. How to meet these needs? We can get really creative with each other in finding ways that would to, as much as possible, meet the needs of not just one person, but everyone involved. With this, we are now coming, and there are still things coming in the chat. Thank you for sharing. Because of course, this is when there's just one iceberg and one person, it still takes intentionality to self-connect with my feelings and needs, but things get much more juicy when two icebergs meet and with, different, let me share with again, perhaps a different set of needs in a given moment and feelings that show to what extent the needs have been or not met. So you can all imagine that things can become interesting. And how can NVC help us here? There are three pillars in nonviolent communication, NVC. The root, in my experience, is self-empathy, the connection with my feelings and needs. And this can be either in a concrete situation where I'm perhaps challenged, or it can be just when I'm on my own and I'm noticing I'm getting anxious. Okay, what is really happening? What is in my body that where do I feel tension and what is it saying to me? What need wants to be acknowledged and perhaps met? So 24 hours time to practice self-empathy and connecting with our own body and feelings and needs. That's the first muscle. It's really essential. As we sometimes like to see, how can I host myself in a good way in life generally? From there, we go to honest self-expression. What are concrete ways how I can express myself in a way that the other side, even if there is a bumpy road, can receive what I have to share, even though there might be some challenges between us. And the third muscle, empathic listening. This is an inner stance. And in nonviolent communication, we are practicing both. We are practicing what I would call radical empathy towards others, and then also a concrete way of how to reflect back in words when it serves. It's not always needed, not always the case, and yet in some situation, if we are skilled and mindful, reflecting back and checking for understanding, am I with you? That you're feeling this because you need that, and that can be very transformative. So these are really three pillars. That's why we like to say that nonviolent communication is quite simple, but it's not really easy. It can take some unlearning to see, first of all, ourselves, but then others in a radically empathetic way. So again, the root of all, connection with my feelings and need in an embodied way. And how does this look in practice? I will show this to the best of my capacity right now with my own example. The way it can work very well is in the moment just to listen to my body and notice how my body is feeling. And I'm seeing, right now I can feel some trembling in my chest, like in this part, and a bit of excitement and also tension. So these are my feelings. And if I go deeper and attune and really listen to what's the need right now that is longing to be fulfilled. It's a need to contribute to this shared space in a way that would also be, I see now, honoring this NVC lineage that I have been touched by, and to have a kind of shared experience with you, to hope to meet, to connect over what's valuable together. You can also notice that as I follow my internal space, I slow down. My speech becomes more gentle. It's a gentle practice of, in a way, going from what's going on in my head into a more embodied experience. So for me, nonviolent communication is not mechanical, it's really deeply embodied. And I invite you also to a short, perhaps 1-2 minutes, guided self-empathy. You will not have to share this with anyone. It will be an internal process to which you can join or not. I will share a few invitations and see how this works for you. So if you want, you can close your eyes or keep them open. Yeah, and this will be just a silent experience and no expectations for you later unless you want to share something. But yeah, just think of situation that is to some extent unresolved right now in your life. There might be some uncomfortable, uneasy residue in you when you think of that situation. And think of something that's more small in dimension, not the biggest issue you have in your life, because we are just starting, practicing, beginning steps and skills. So let's keep it manageable and more, also more easy to tackle. Something of a small dimension, it could be something at your workplace or somebody, a driver made you angry on the road, something that wants to be visited by you right now. And as you are with this memory, see if you can notice any emotions or even feelings in a very embodied way that might be present as you revive this memory of that situation. Just notice, shift your attention from your head to more a whole body where there might be perhaps some tension, some unease. Just see if you can find some words for it internally in your own space. And now ask yourself, what might be a need, a quality that I'm longing for in this situation? Might be one or a few. Try and find the one that has the most value and weight for you right now. And just stay with the essence, the beauty, the value of that quality, even if it's not present, not met to the extent you would like to meet it, but just how important it is to you and how it is part of you who you are as a human. And the last invitation, see if there comes up a gentle request to yourself from this guided process. Is there something you would like to Yeah, ask yourself to do more or less or new. But be gentle, very gentle with you. And also see if perhaps there is a request you would like to extend at some point to another person who might be involved in the situation or not. Thank you. And take a breath or two if you need and come from your inner space to get to our shared circle here. The invitation is to practice as much self-empathy as you can, because this will also enhance your capacity to be empathetic to others. Plus, it makes, in my experience, our lives richer, more fulfilling, and also clearer in what way we want to move forward. If anyone is moved to do so, you're welcome to write in the chat just the quality, the need that came up for you, so that perhaps we can be inspired as well. And it's also a good way to just ground our experience. No pressure, but it might be to simplify for simplicity and incoming evade. Yes. I see similarities between what we just did and shadow work. Yeah. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Brian. Contribution, harmony, safety. Yeah. 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 Very connection. I'm very glad seeing these pop up because they are positively articulated, universal. We can all connect with the beauty and value of them, and abstract enough that we can think of many ways how to enact connection, how to find ways to connect, or patience, faith, ease. Yeah, thank you. With this, we had a brief appetizer style experience of self-empathy at the root of that tree of NVC. We'll now transition to the next one, which is the famous 4 steps. Some of you might have heard already, yeah, NVC, that's a 4 steps, and there is a lot in that. However, if it does not come from really connected center space, might not work that magically. So the 4 steps are most clearly connected with the honest self-expression. The question is, okay, with all these feelings that I feel and the needs that I've clarified for myself, how can they help me be very honest and authentic and clear in communications with others, especially important where there might be tension, challenges. So the 4 steps of honest self-expression are the following. We like to start just with an observation when we start our sharing, so that the other person who is the recipient of our sharing can relate to what the heck am I talking about, do I want to talk about? We have this camera symbol here, or eye here, meaning how can I make my observation as clear, as neutral, as part of the shared reality as possible? No evaluation, no judgment. And this is a very fine discernment. We could spend an entire hour and a half just on the 4 steps. What does it mean to say things in a connected way? So here we are going for something that both parties, no matter how intense the conflict is, would agree what the observation was. Then we have okay, how did this impact me? When this happens, I feel blah, blah, blah. owning my feelings, not projecting feelings on the other. I feel that you, that's not, it is about my experience. I feel sad, I feel surprised, I feel disappointed. Okay. And then the third step is clarify, make very transparent the need that you have. The need that is, again, positively articulated, universal, abstract, because I need this. This is a transformational moment because we authentically name what's important to us in a way that the other person could, at least to some extent, most likely connect, because it's part of their shared humanity too. And then another important piece, a clear request. What is my proposal to move now forward? Sometimes the request could be very small, like, would you be willing to tell me what you understood was important to me here? A tiny one, before asking, would you be willing to move to another country or something like that? Could take a small step just to ensure there is an understanding before we proceed. So there's a lot of craft to the 4 steps. We spent, a long time in honing our skills here. That's why, again, it's simple, but not easy always. An example, a very simple, probably relatable one. When, that's the first step, when I see you engage with the phone while I'm talking, I feel frustrated because I'd like to be fully heard, my need for being heard. Would you be willing to close the phone for 5 minutes and hear my idea? We also learn how to make requests the way they are clear, but also as doable as possible. 5 minutes is probably easier than would you be just willing to close your phone? And what, So all through the self-expression, I keep thinking, okay, what is a connecting way to get this across? What could be a just big enough strategy and slash request that the other person could say yes. If they say no, there might be more needs behind, and I'll be curious about those needs. But that's an advanced take. At the end, you will get those links because since we have such a short session today, there are already some helpers out there that can help you hone your self-expression sentences. And again, the most important is the place from which we come. So if I sum this up, and Brian, then
I was to say a quick note on that kind of 4-step formula in your example there is it's really easy, even when plainly stated, when I see you engage with the phone while I'm talking, to be heard as you're not paying attention to me. And you can instantly come into defensiveness. And one great tool nonviolent communication suggests is checking for understanding. So, when I see you engaging with the phone while I'm talking, I feel frustrated because I'd like to be fully heard. Can you repeat back what I just said? And if they go back and they're using language of blame, they're feeling you're attacking them, you can confirm or reconfirm and go back to what you originally said and say, this is about me. You're not making me do anything. I think it's a very human tendency to get defensive when we are hearing that, someone has feelings because we think we cause those feelings. We think we control everything around us. And slowing down and confirming understanding can really go a long way to create that connection back and forth.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Yeah, just check. Yeah, could you just tell me what you heard was important to me? Find a connecting way, and it's also from which place obviously we come. How centered can I be? And if I had connected with my feelings and needs before expressing what I want to say, I might come even from a more centered space. Yeah, thank you. So to recap this, it is, I'm focused on my experience. I'm not saying what's wrong with the other person. You idiot, why don't you listen to me? Aren't we in a whatever very intimate relationship? That will not go a long way. But if I just talk about my experience, this is what happens, and this is how it affects me. This is what is valuable to me, the need, and have a reasonable size request, how to move forward. That could be connecting. So my experience, and with a clear request, and throughout, nurture connection. So what is it connect? What would be a connecting way to, express my request? If it's disconnecting, can I revamp it? Can I change it so that it would be more likely received by the others? So let me see how we are doing with time. Yeah. I would propose we just go to the third pillar, and then we will stop for any Q&A, anything that is unclear, bothers you, that you would like to have more clarity or inspiration for. So this was the second pillar. Now we go to the third pillar, which is empathic listening. Very often the most difficult, but also the most, maybe I'll stop sharing here. Oh no, let me go one more. But also the most transformative part of nonviolent communication. So to what extent can I, almost no matter what the other person says, offer my presence and really hear what's essential to them? How might they be feeling? What they might be needing? And I listen to this internally, and then if it serves, I might reflect back, especially to show that I really understand the other person. Because, so often people just say, oh, yes, I understand, or oh, yeah, I hear you. And, I could respond like this to a nuclear physicist. Oh, yeah, I hear you, I understand you. But if that physicist says, so what did I actually say here? I'm not sure I would be able to summarize in a good way. And yet it's a very, very important skill. So I'm up for demonstrating this. And first, I'll just offer to you, is there anyone here in the group who has a small challenge that you would like to share with others here in order to be received back from my side? I'll try to just hear your feelings and needs, and I'll check my understanding. I might be more successful or less, and that's not even so important. What's important is my intention to really try and be with you. What's important to you? What you might be needing. So that would be like a 3-minute demonstration. And if anyone is up for being received with empathy in front of others, please we just need one. Please give us a sign and head up or unmute yourself. Let's give a bit of time for that. No one right now? I did ask Brian. I said, Brian, in case no one shows up, would you be up for it?
Yeah, I can be your guinea pig. Stephanie said in chat that they have a sort of property dispute with their neighbor. Stephanie, if you want to be our example here, you're welcome to. But if you want to stay
Sure,
aside,
I'm willing to be the example. I'm willing to step up today.
Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah. Any chance you would put on your camera? It's not a necessity, but if it works, might be easier. It's in.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Ignore the background.
Don't worry. No. Again, if it works for you. If not,
Yeah,
that's
fine.
But of course, when we all know that the more channels of communicating and connecting we have, the easier it is.
Sure.
So I would suggest for Stephanie, and thank you for being open to share. You should just share. You can be frustrated. It's fine. You do not have to filter. You do not have to be nonviolent at all, because otherwise I won't have anything to contribute. So, you can just rant, and everyone else,
Okay.
please just be silent and yeah,
Very
honor,
well.
pay
Gosh.
attention. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right.
And after a few minutes,
It's a little complicated, but I'll try to stay away from the complicated part of it, just to talk about the feelings.
Just tell us a little bit about the outer experience, so we can relate to
Okay,
what the
so
challenge is, and then
I live in
about you. And then if needed, I will just stop you if it goes too long, and I'll try
Okay.
to. So don't worry, just go ahead.
I live in the country, and I share a driveway with several other people. And one of our adjacent neighbors, not the ones that share the driveway, believes that her property extends further south. So she has trees that are starting to encroach on her driveway, but doesn't want to cut them back. But now we can't get around each other when we go down the driveway safely. And I thought we had I met her and I liked her and I was like becoming friends with her. And then when this whole situation happened, the friendship kind of, the conversations weren't so positive anymore because she was very firm about not cutting her trees. And my other neighbor that lives adjacent to her is kind of siding with her because I guess they're friends. So we're at a standstill right now. So yeah, feeling a little frustrated. I thought it would be kind of an easy. I was really trying to handle it as calmly and nicely as I could, and we're at a standstill. So nothing's happening.
So what I'm hearing is that yeah, you might be feeling frustrated, maybe at this point also a bit helpless, because you would really like to have safety on one side, and on the other, perhaps ease of connection with neighbors. Does that resonate?
Right. Yeah, I want to have good relationships with my neighbors, but at the same time, there's an issue that has to be resolved. It's not resolved.
Yeah, so you'd also like to see that this would move forward and yeah, be resolved, and there would be progress, and again, more harmony perhaps in the neighborhood. Does that resonate?
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Okay. Thank you. I'll stop here. We could have gone on, and you see how natural it becomes that Stephanie herself just said, yes, it's that, and I would like to have this resolved and good relationships. And how was this for you, Stephanie? A last question that will set you free. Just this short interaction.
I mean, it definitely feels affirming.
Mm-hmm.
You're definitely recognizing how I feel, and I feel heard.
Yeah. Okay, that's enough. Thank you. Yeah. And you were pretty clear. You said, I'm frustrated. No, I would like more ease or something very similar. So you help us more than half the way already. And, if you noticed, I did my best to really just stay with feelings and needs, and that's the essential practice. That then, of course, we can bring a bit more of what we call street language, street giraffe, even into our MVC. But the important thing is when we have a challenging situation and somebody shares that, we do not go into consoling, come on, all right, now it's like this, it's going to be different. We do not go into sharing our own stories. Oh gosh, the neighbors that I had back there 10 years ago, or my neighbors, now, and we have whatever political device, it's even worse than your driveway, or not putting spotlight on us, but staying with the person, with their experience to the best of our ability. And even if it's not exactly what we get, when a person senses that are being really heard, or at least that intention to hear them is there, they will respond. They will share, yes, and, or maybe that. So they will also deepen their own self-connection. Trying to fix, yeah, Brian says, trying to fix, of course, very often, because we are uneasy with uneasy emotions. We would like to move out ourselves to a better space, and of course, for other people. There's a lot to say. And I'm noticing also the time. This was just, how to say, warming up for how can we use this also in group processes or as light mediators when it serves. So as I said in the beginning, most of my work is facilitating stakeholder strategic dialogues, where very often you will have different sides. And I will now quickly showcase how could this be used to, bridge divides. And I will share a real experience from my facilitation practice in the just so that you know, I've done a lot of work in Eastern Europe, Eastern Central Europe, where I originally come from, Slovenia, and then Balkans, where people can be very, very direct. There is a direct in a way also what I think about others and judgment. So I'm quite trained for stepping up in conflict. So, but why even would I choose as a facilitator to step in with empathic listening and reflecting back? First of all, I want to acknowledge what's important to people. I do not want to move away or, suppress it because it'll come back. It's an important energy that's behind people's also challenging contributions. And I want to capture that energy and, like in Aikido practice, and guide it towards something that works for all of us. So yeah, it's I see you. It's that avatar thingy. No, and I haven't seen a person who doesn't want to be heard or seen for what matters to them. Not yet. And there's a bit of an art and craft how to then summarize. So there will be a little bit of a step up of what we said just now of pure NVC feelings and needs. And important, I always check, just like I did with Stephanie, does that resonate? Because I'm not a doctor who's diagnosing their condition. They will say, no, no, but I'm respectfully checking for accuracy. Okay, let me go to a concrete example here, which is from a stakeholder workshop on energy sector in my beloved Slovenia back then, when we had these different players, they were energy producers, obviously, and distributors, environmental advocates, scientific experts, local government, with very different positions and interests. And the question was, okay, how do we align around our, on the country's level, energy strategy for the next 25, 30 years back then? Okay, there I was, and at some point there was this trigger, hard to receive message where the mayor of a local town that had a coal mine said, come on, you guys, you environmentalists, you are worried about these birds and fish or whatever, but how about the people who live here and work in the mine? I mean, they need to feed their families, and these jobs are well paid. What are you? You are so selfish, etc., etc. So, of course, the others could then start fighting back, which might happen in some cultural contexts. And I had enough presence that I just gently intervened as a facilitator. And I wanted to unearth the essence, like, okay, what is right now important to this person? What they might be valuing here that I could help unearth in a way that would be, universal enough that the other stakeholders could also resonate with it. And now we can look at here to this right-hand side, this two-sided arrow. I could go to very MVC, very abstract. Is it that dignity of people or safety is important to you? Yes, and does not really quite fit the context. I also do not want to be too concrete and say, oh, it's really important to you that a coal mine stays open. He would say, yes, he would definitely be on my side, and I will lose a third of the stakeholders there who don't want the coal mine for a number of environmental reasons, etc., etc. But say, okay, probably what he says under his, livelihood, okay, he would like for the region to stay economically vibrant. If I get it there, just the right amount of concreteness and abstraction, this might be commonality enough that we can co-create solutions from here. Because, economically vibrant, that can happen in many ways. Coal mine is only one strategy, how to keep the region economically vibrant. There are many more if we really do our best and put our minds together and co-create at least all the options and scenarios, and then decide which one might be most beneficial. I'll quickly give another example, and the last one here, the same situation. When a scientific expert, 2 PhDs, and part of the Academy of Sciences and Arts, which is like the highest institution, he said to me actually in the very beginning, he said, "What? I'm not going to listen to all these people here who don't even distinguish a watt from a volt. Like, come on, his thinking being, the energy future of the country should be decided by us scientists. We know the real things, we know the data." Okay, a deep breath. How do I acknowledge him? How do I give him I see you in a good way? And again, I could see it's important to you the trust, which would be here at the very abstract level, which might not be enough. Or are you concerned because it's important to you that the scientist decides, yes, and the rest of the group could go home. There were back then, I think 40 people in the room. So, okay, why did we gather all these people? I did say to the person, so are you concerned because it's really important to you that we operate with well-supported arguments as we discuss this region's future? And he said, yes. I said, fine, we'll do our best. And if there is a moment when you perceive that this is not so, would you be willing to just raise your hand and say, we need to operate with arguments and we will stop the process and refocus? I said, sure, yes, I will. And he became later a huge sympathizer and fan of the process because, yes, we were operating with arguments. And I would say that the local government and environmentalists also did bring good arguments to the table. So let me see. So yeah, I ask myself, am I really a neutral facilitator? Not really. I have a lot of opinions on a lot of things, and I do my best to not to act on them. While I do make my best to be radically empathetic to all the views, which can, in my experience, create quite a transformative difference in such a situation. So I'll stop sharing here. We now covered the 3 parts: self-empathy, connecting with my own feelings and needs, and then a quick protocol for connecting self-expression about my experience and how to move things forward. as well as then a few examples of how radical empathy in a moment that would include reflecting back in a spoken way could, again, bring more connection, more clarity, more understanding. And I'd just like to pause here for any comments, questions, anything that is alive and new. And also, Brian, thank you for monitoring the chat. Anything that would be valuable to share here in plenary. Let's spend a few minutes sharing. We still have good 10 minutes before we close. Oh, I see also, yeah, Brian comparing getting to yes, yeah.
I think on your note about am I being a neutral facilitator, I think NVC is amazing for that self-empathy and then working to create connection with individuals. And sometimes you're put in a position where you are trying to gain something out of a situation. I mean, in this case, like obviously when you are facilitating a group of people, you are biased towards them getting along and getting to a solution because you want to be brought back and facilitate again. There's a book kind of similar in the Getting to Yes called Never Split the Difference about FBI hostage negotiation techniques where they essentially use nonviolent communication to get their way out of a situation. But as part of that, it is incredibly important to them to understand the person on the other side of the table and what their needs are because they want to get it to a mutually agreeable solution in the end. They want the other person to be bought in, so they follow through. And so NVC can be used as a tool for your own personal needs, but along the way, that understanding and the empathy towards the other person is still critical no matter what your desired outcome is in the situation.
Yeah. And when I read Never Split the Difference, I was shocked how much alignment and resonance there was with nonviolent communication. And the opening chapters are all about hostage negotiation by these FBI folks. And it's a complete NVC where they are reflecting back. It's the sympathetic listening and reflecting back. It's it's really inspiring to see that NVC, as you say, not just in very personal context, but how much connection and intimacy it can bring in those very high stakes situations. So yeah, I would also definitely highly recommend. We will have some resources shared very soon that can help you move forward with your understanding and application of NVC. We see here that there's a second book, The Full Fee Agent is even better. That's great to have. There's a lot of, in the chat, a lot of useful resources here. Quickly, any other comment or question before we start wrapping up with a few recaps and resources? No. Yep. Okay. I'm trusting there's enough clarity to move forward. You know, I like to wrap up with some myths that are circulating in this world about nonviolent communication. Yeah, by the way, Marshall Rosenberg, the author or the person through whom the spirit of NVC was most clearly expressed, present in the life. He died about 10 years ago, yeah, and still the NVC movement is really rapidly growing in the world. We have now about 1,000 trainers, certified trainers globally. So that's for me fascinating to see how it's really thriving. Yeah, and some of the myths that are circulating are, yeah, it's all about the 4 steps. You just do the 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. And yes, it's very helpful, and still the place from which you come, the energy, the intention. Do I intend to connect? And am I open and to being influenced that not necessarily my strategy is going to come up, but together we might come up with a better strategy once we have all the needs on the table. Am I open to a strategy I haven't thought of before? So it's about intention. It's also deeply embodied. Do keep nurturing your own connection with your body and how the feelings are the messengers for the needs that are met or not in your life. It's not about being nice. You know, I'm not directly saying things like you are the idiot, and yet I'm directly, authentically saying what's alive and real for me in this moment. When you say this, I feel like this because I value la la la. So that's very true. I can say I'm really angry right now, and I would really like, for example, in a meeting, when I see it's 30 minutes into our 40-minute meeting and we have not yet touched on the core topic, I'm really frustrated, really angry, and I'd really like to have reassurance that this comes on the table soon. So are you up for planning another short meeting that would just concentrate on this in the next 48 hours, for example? So I can be very angry as well, and yet I own my experience. I'm not talking what's wrong with the others, but how I experience things and how can I move them forward. Yes, language can't be violent. Thank you, Brian, for adding this one. And yeah, how we speak to each other does inform how we treat. It's very connected, and language, in a way, is a portal to connection or disconnection that we can be all.
My personal soapbox, I couldn't get through the second page of Jonathan Haidt's The Anxious Generation because he goes on a rant about how language can't be violent. And I was like, all right, I don't need to read this. That's okay. Let's keep going.
Yep. And yeah, takeaways that we promised. Build the radical empathy muscles by enhancing your own care for yourself. That's a really nice proposition and invitation. My experience is the more self-empathy, the more permissions, the more softness, gentleness I offer to myself, the more my capacity to hold other people's experiences is grown. So very useful, helpful, and even pleasant to experience. What am I feeling? What am I needing? 24 hours a day. 4 steps will give you some helpers how to practice this in a good way. And radical empathy again. Marshall said, every criticism, judgment, diagnosis, expression of anger. He would also say every violence is just a tragic expression of an unmet need. We can always also practice in our own minds when we see behavior, perhaps out there in society. What might these people be feeling? What might they be needing? You know, this life offers us a lot of opportunities to practice nonviolent communication internally, and as we do that, we just often get more soften in a good way, become more just gentle with ourselves and others. Here are a few resources, and very soon I will share a link to this whole presentations where you can then just click and download this PDF that I created years ago. There's also then a link to the Center for Nonviolent Communication, which is a global organization where a lot of resources can be found, as well as nonviolent communication certified trainers and their offerings around the world. There are a few help apps that can just help you hone your skills in, perhaps getting a good 4 steps prep sentence, and then of course you can more easily bring it to life in real situation. And let me see, I will put this into the chat if we haven't yet. So these mirror slides will come up very quickly. It'll be easier for me if I stop sharing here. So this is the link to the board where the presentation is, and also link to the Center for Nonviolent Communication. And then also, please stay in touch. I will put some contacts of Brian and first myself. So very welcome if you'd like to get more inspiration, more resources, or just to have a, chat about something that might be interesting, beneficial to you or to all of us. Very welcome. And as a last invitation, there's a way to practice again a little bit of self-empathy. What might be one need, one quality that you would like to experience more in 2026? What might be one invitation to yourself? And you'll see it if you can articulate it as a need or quality, positively articulated, universal, and abstract enough so you can have fun with coming up with many strategies. Oh, love that. It's great if we share them in the chat because we can be inspired. I'd love to have more awe in my life. Oh, wonder, absolutely. So, tolerate the new dog in my house. Enjoy the new dog in my house. Perhaps even bigger aspiration, joy, movement. Yeah, yeah. Drawing art, art, very often it can be creativity, beauty, because drawing is already a strategy, or it could be self-connection. There are a lot of needs that one strategy can meet. Curiosity. Thank you. It's just very, very nurturing for me to read this and to connect with your longings and our shared humanities. So with that, thank you for your presence and curiosity, and let's get as many of our needs met in the times to come. Or we say, live your life with passion, so get our needs met, or compassion when this is not the case. Get compassionate towards ourselves, and that's already a warm embrace. Thank you. Anything else that needs to be said from
Marjeta, that was absolutely lovely. Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but before I do that, let's give Marjeta and Brian a big Nova Scribes. Thank you. That was great.